Hey guys, next up we got Oracle. This is a really fun hero, but also really tricky, especially at times. Mostly happening because of Fate's Edict spell. This is a spell that when you cast, doesn't matter if it's ally or enemy, it disarms, right? So they can't attack, but it also gives them full spell protection. Now, spells can still be cast, it's just damage. Any damage gets nullified completely. So you have to be really careful with this. Maybe you think, casting it on your allies is you're actually saving their life, but they want to right click, and now they can't because you thought they're going to receive some big spell damage, you're trying to protect them. So that's one way to fail. The other way, on the enemy, if you think like enemy is going to do a massive damage with any right click hero, but let's say he just wanted to get away and just looked like he was going to engage. Now if there's anybody next to him from your team, they gotta have to wait till this expires. It's 5 seconds, and they can't really nuke him with spell damage, right? So Fate's Edict is really tricky, really tricky. There used to be a Scepter effect that's changed now. The old Scepter used to be that this spell becomes pretty much free to cast. It would if it's cast on the ally, it would only give them spell protection, but it wouldn't disarm them. And if it was cast on the enemy, it would apply the double debuff. So they would get both disarmed, and they would be able to... I guess the second one is not debuff, it just gets ignored, right? So if you were to cast an enemy, they could still be hit by all the spell damage from spells, right? So that's changed. There's really nothing to kind of save you from this being, just foolproof. You gotta be really careful with this. That's pretty much one of the bigger problems with this guy. Just a couple of combos that you have to remember to use. Purifying Flames does a great immediate damage, but it also heals the target. The cooldown is low. It can get even lower with the level 25. The problem is they're gonna regain all the health, so you kind of have to combo this with your first spell, which is kind of a dispel on anybody. So you will have to cast the Purifying Flames and the Fortune Sand immediately after. You cannot channel it to get the maximum stun duration, right? Because you have to interrupt this immediately. So once you cast this, you can immediately release the Fortune Sand to remove the healing effect over time from the Purifying Flames, and then you're just left with the pure damage, right? The initial damage. So you deal the initial damage, but then you remove the heal per second that follows after that damage, and they do not regenerate from your spell. So as you can see, it can become really tricky to navigate through all of this. Like, what am I casting? Where do I need to channel this more? Are they gonna heal more? Who am I disarming? It becomes really tricky, right? But yeah, so that's kind of how you go around with the spells. Let's just look at the items now. Oracle, as usual, with like a lot of support heroes, do not have any mobility, right? So something like Force Staff it should be immediately logical for you. Whenever you see a hero like this, amazing spells and stuff, I cannot really move around the map that efficiently around fights. They may catch me, and then what? A lot of things that happen, and this is kind of that layer of security that you can always make. Now, it doesn't have to be something like first item, it can help a lot. First item always goes something like Elderlands. There's 4 really useful spells that you need to be able to cast as far as possible. So Elderlands is kind of really... It's just like a locked in item. You have to get this. There's no way around. I would say Elderlands and Force Staff is something that just has to happen. One deals with the whole mobility issue. There's no leaps, there's no jumps. And the other one with the cast range and any mana issues. Like Arcane Boots, but upgraded with cast range. Especially with the old pretty much extends. It's something like Shallow Grave from Dazzle, in a way. So you gotta be able to cast this as far as possible, right? And all of these, of course, disabling somebody from far that they just can't right click is also big. So just make the other lands. Whenever you burn through your consumables and stuff, the old thing, just get the energy booster, get the arcane boots, get the void stone, get the recipe, disenchant your boots, unlock the item, and just get the other lands. It's gonna be your life is gonna be much easier. And then really, I always make this as first, right? But it doesn't have to be. You can make this first, however you wanna go. But after that, there can always be something between Glimmer Cap and Force Staff. But then again, like I said, there's no mobility for you. it kind of sucks just being a right click and then nothing, you know. You just have to go through all of the, let's say there's like a wave here of mobs, friendly heroes. So you're just gonna push through all of that with 4-step. Save your teammates. Also the way to use 4-step offensively on enemy heroes, if anybody turns towards you or your allies for a second, like you know, they just kind of make a mistake where they want to last hit something, you can always use that moment to push them in towards your team. So if there's like tides, let's say this is mid, this is any hero that kind of like, you know, is going like this, you can't really push them, but sometimes they kind of turn for a while longer and you have extra cast range. You can always use that to kind of do a nice, you know, push if they're not careful enough, like a Vengeful Spirit swap, you know, but you don't have to get there yourself. So a lot of benefits from 4-step. Again, way to use it defensively, offensively, however you wanna go. After 4-step, I just usually make Glimmer Cape. Kind of goes with the whole team, with the ult, with this. Just being able to hide somebody and use 4-step on yourself. You don't have to be like, what if I hide him? I don't have anything for me, I'm gonna die. What if I use 4-step on me? Then he dies. If I push him, then I die. This is just another way to kind of save both of you if there's a need. Or just, you know, save him from the incoming spell damage. If they're about to nuke the guy, you could just give him this. Maybe he wants to stay and fight. As usual, you know, just like you can use 4-step, in that way you can also use Glimmer Cape. It does not have to be when you're trying to escape or that. If this is any, you know, hero from your team, they want to jump in and fight, you can expect some incoming spell damage, you can just give them Glimmer Cape and send them, you know, just tell them go. So they can do all of the spells, the effect is going to persist no matter what for 5 seconds. That's another way to use this, and yeah, Oracle with stuff like this is pretty much done if the game goes that long. If the game goes that long or even longer, some other stuff that you can always make Aeon Disc, you know, saves your life, gives you a couple of seconds to think about. They want to cast Glimmer Cape, they want to cast 4-step, they want to give somebody ult before you die if it's at that point. Disarm somebody or try to do anything, you know, in that amount of time before something really bad happens, right? Because there's no other protections then after this. At least not the one in the sense like this, right? So, Aeon Disc, always great item for any support, no matter what it is. Ghost Scepter, protection from right-click heroes. You know, the good old Ursa or Troll Warlord or Faceless Void or Legion Commander, anybody like that, kind of Legion Commander or Faceless Void more because of the rules. If you kind of see them, he's about to jump, you can kind of pre-cast this and then he's gonna do the Chronosphere while you're in this. You can kind of bait it or even put yourself in as a target, try to precast it. It's really risky, but it's just another way this item can be used. Takes a lot of practice, of course, and game awareness. But if not, just like somebody like Ursa, you know, that jumps you, can one-shot you with overpower and passive. Great way to just completely stop them with that. And then, you know, again, decide if they got no dust, just get away with this. If they always check the enemy's inventory. If they got the dust and you have all of this, you just better cast 4-step immediately, because once they cast dust also slows you down as the secondary effect. So always check enemy's inventory before you you know, make a call before the fights if you can, if this is better or this, because then you'll be wasting the whole other effect. The pop the dust, be ready, you won't be able to get time to cast this, it gets really messy, you die, you know, it's just a horrible scenario, right? So that's with those kind of, you know, basics. Oracle does not really make anything special here or crazy. There's also, you know, the Yule Scepter, also always great item for supports. Interrupts any channeling spells. Maybe there's Witch Doctor, maybe there's Crystal Maiden. Again, you know, any right clickers, maybe Troll Warlord locked into somebody, you can kind of disable them with that. Push, you know, your friend away from the damage from the patch lock. There's just a lot of stuff that it combos with. Breaks any silence. If you get silence, you can get out silence with this. Any debuffs, you can also cast this. Any incoming stuns, you know, Chaos Knight, Sven, you can just block the stun with this, and then, you know, when you come down quickly, there's no that time when they pretty much one shot you, do a lot of damage. As soon as you come down, you can just get away with 4-step. But yeah, everything pretty much revolves around this one. This is an amazing item that you should always get no matter what. 4-step, right? And yeah, something like Scepter, that's now changed. Scepter is pretty much this now. It's not channeled spell, you can just cast it and leave. So for allies it's heal, on AoE, for enemy it's damage per second, right? Like Radiance does. Not the same amount of damage, of course, but it also amplifies any heals for allies on any healing spells, right? Kind of like a Holy Locket effect while they're under this. So this Titan is gonna receive much bigger heals if, you know, maybe there's Omni Knight, maybe there's Mechanism, Holy Locket. He's gonna get healed much more when he's under this. Maybe something I would get for late game, probably like as the last item, because you would really need all of these. Can't really you know, all of these or this, it's kind of tough to say because I can't see the enemy team. But probably as the last item if you really had space. And I mean, also they need to stay in that, right? So goes much better when there's a lot of crowd control spells or maybe big AoEs. Titan's a good example. Open up with this, maybe he jumps in, casts Ravage. Buys a lot of time for everybody to stay in there, right? Both allies and enemies. But yeah, Scepter is probably like the biggest optional item, you know. I think you would want something like this anyways, you know. Just this is another way, because this is all great, but you know, the dynamics of the fights are always different. Everybody's always moving somewhere or has something to escape the AoE, right? Unless it's some big controls heroes like this, or Magnus or Enigma. They can always get away. But yeah, there's also Shard. So your ult is pretty much, it's not like in Dota 1. In Dota 1 it hides you no matter what. Here it doesn't hide you. Here you have to pay money for your ult to hide your allies, right? You have to get the Shard, and then they disappear. It's not even immediate, it's still 0.15 pay delay invisibility, but now they can fight. Now it's gonna break the... I can't get stuff. I didn't spell anything. So they can fight. They're not gonna get out of invisibility. They can do whatever. And if they can see them, of course, there's dust or what's and stuff. It delays their death by a lot. And anything you also cast under the ult, let's say heals, gets amplified a bunch more, right? I kind of forgot to mention that. So basically any healing that is delayed by false promise is doubled. So it's a good way when you cast ult to just kind of spam them with purifying flames. And once this goes off, let's say they run away from the fight, they're gonna be healed. If it's like the good scenario, probably to full health, but you can still save them like that, right? One thing that I also didn't mention for purifying flames and Fate's Edict. So your teammates, right? If you don't wanna do the damage to them with the purifying flames, let's say they need a heal, but you don't want to use the damage of this, because it's also that damage to your allies, right? As you can see. So you don't want to do that instant damage. You can just precast the Fate's Edict, right? That blocks the magic damage. You can give them that and then cast the Purifying Flames. Then they're just gonna get the heal after. They're not gonna get hit by the damage, right? Initially. So if you don't want to damage them with this, just give them the spell protection and then cast Purifying Flames. And that's pretty much all of the tricks with Oracle. Like I said, it can be really tricky. There's a lot of this stuff. There's a lot of items. You can get confused. You can die a bunch of times, especially learning without even casting gold. You're kind of too busy figuring out, I need to cancel Purifying Flames for the enemy, like I said, in Fortune Send. Who am I disabling, disarming? My allies, enemy heroes, am I gonna save them from spell damage because I can't? You know, there's a lot of stuff. It actually happens a lot that you gotta just die before you even cast this, or you're just gonna panic cast this and it's kind of useless. So tricky hero, not like tricky like Invoker can be, or like Meepo or stuff like that. You know, they kind of really lift that even further, the trickiness level. But Oracle is tricky for himself as well, because you still need to think really fast. in a fight that can have any scenario. You know, you maybe know all of the heroes on the enemy team, but you never know what they're gonna do and what they're gonna cast and in what moment. And unless you're constantly talking with your teammates, you don't even know what your teammates are gonna do. So do you want to disable them or not? Do they want you to disable enemy hero or not? You know, yeah, it can get really tricky. But yeah, some of the basics of purifying flames and then immediately casting this, those are the basics on the lane. You try to kind of harass them that way, or just casting Fortress Send on its own. But if you want to combo it, then this and this immediately to remove the heal per second, so they only get damage. So yeah, that's it. That's the whole thing I think with the items and spells. Just look at the talent tree. Talent tree, I just take Fortress Send, more stun time for this. You don't care about int, right? We solved that problem. You'll have the other int item anyways, and Oracle is fine. It's not that big of a deal. As you can see, it's not that much mana anyways. 180 mana, it's not a big of a deal. This is 50. So yeah, ult is a bit more pricier, but even level 3 is 200, so you'll be fine. Second one I gotta say is interesting. 15 armor, so something like a Shiva effect in terms of armor on ult. Or Purifying Flames cooldown, so this becomes 1 second cast, 1.25 actually. So having this 1.25, is it worth it from 2.5? It can be really easy to burst any enemy heroes. It really becomes something like this, you know. On low health you can chase them and burst them, but it's a pretty tricky one to answer, right? How we're gonna go with this, but I'd say probably I would go armor, because I usually cast ult to something like a carry. I usually save it for carry, so try to give him as much sustainability as I can. So kind of really tricky one. I can't say. I'll have to see what my team is versus enemy team. If I can burst them maybe quicker and secure kills before the real fight starts, maybe. But then again, I can't see. Third one is definitely False Promise cooldown. Get this to 40 seconds. That's huge. It's a huge spell, especially with the shard. I just always take the ult reduction. 30% Purifying Flames enemy damage is also great, especially if you took the cooldown. But I kind of usually just take this, and then it's better to go buff the ult even more, right? Because ult is always gonna work on your teammates at least. Anything happen with Purifying Flames, you might die, you might not be able to cast this, you might be busy in the back, they might just kill you, and ult you probably can always cast whatever it is right from the back anyways, because there's cast range with this also, so makes more sense. And last one, you can extend your ult. It becomes a lot more actually, 11.5. Or you can immediately cast this. Now, the thing that you get with this is you get the maximum stun duration without you being able, without needing to be stuck channeling. So, you know, instead of doing that to get the damage is the same. You're just going for the root duration pretty much. So it just kind of does this and gives them the max stun anyways, but you have to channel it. You know, it's pretty great with Purifying Flames, I can't say it's being able to do it like that. You do not have to sacrifice root duration. You know, I mean, ult is 10 seconds already. From 10 to 11.5, I don't think it's that big of a difference. 10 seconds to 11.5 might be just too much anyways, you know. I guess depending when you cast, you can, this way you can cast it more early. Into the fight, but yeah, just both are great. I'd probably rather take Instant Fortress Send. The cooldown is also low, and just being able to immediately cast it, get the max root time. It doesn't have to leave you behind. You have to stay behind if you want to challenge. You kind of lose the distance between you and the fight. This kind of keeps you in the fight at all times. You can keep chasing, spamming these. It's much more active in that way, you know, you become much more active if you hit level 25, that is. Usually you don't, but yeah, it's an interesting choice. So that'll be it. It's a really interesting gold effect, I gotta say. I almost never see the animation. Really nice animation. So yeah, that would be Oracle, and yeah, a couple of choices with items, couple of combos, however to go. Something like Glimmer Cape, Etherlands, Force Time, I feel like it's always needed. Just kind of to stay, you can stay back, spam, save anybody if need, push yourself in and out. Like I said, push enemy heroes towards you if they kind of face you. You can use that like as a cheeky way to get a fast kill. But yeah, that will be it, and I'll be seeing you guys on the next one.